Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here at Tree in the middle of the road. Check that out, huh? Isn't that something? Audubon County in front of us, behind us is Cass County. This tree was, they say surveyors stuck a twig in the road right here 150 years ago, and the twig lived and grew into this tree. Is that true or not? Who knows? But it's a site that I've been coming to for a long time. Look at this motorcycle here. This is a Royal Enfield 411 Himalayan. This is the original Himalayan. The Himalayan began its life in about 2016 in India, 2017 in America. I think that's how it goes. This is a 2017 Royal Enfield Himalayan. This was the first Himalayan, the very first one, sold by Baxter Cycle in Marnie, Iowa. So baxtercycle.com. This is the very first one, the one that started it all, you know. So back in those days, they were an unknown quantity. Nobody knew what they were. They were, you know, an Indian motorcycle. That was still a rarity. This was a very unique product back then, and this was the first one they had. It was sold to a good friend of ours. I won't say his last name, but Steve, Omaha, and he got this and he took it to Colorado. He sent me some pictures. If I can find them, I'll put them on here, from the top of some pass out there. He took it up, you know, mountain climbing with this bike and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And then it was purchased by a fellow from southeast Iowa. He rode it for years, and he just traded in the other day for a brand new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. So he's a brand loyalist now, huh? So what is this motorcycle? It's a single cylinder, air cooled, single overhead cam, 2-valve, 1 intake, 1 exhaust. Very easy to maintain, very easy to own. It just it chugs along. It's got a 5-speed transmission. It makes a whopping 24 horsepower, has about 24 foot-pounds of torque, which I think is 32 newton meters. It seems to have all that torque, or a good portion of it, between 3,000 and 4,000 RPM. It really starts to kick in, you know. And so you always feel like, even though it's only in the 20s for torque, it feels like you always have it. It's always there. It's always available. I've been driving around on these gravel roads, for the last half hour or so. And that's one thing. It always feels like it has enough power no matter what gear you're in. And then jumping over to the front end, the next notable feature I would say would be this 90/90, I think it's a 90/90, yes, 90/90 21-inch front tire. Check that out. 8 inches of suspension travel. It's about 200 millimeters. I had one of these. I had it for about 3 years. I put about 31,000 miles on it. I drove the majority of those miles, or at least, you know, probably half of those miles, on dirt and gravel, and the thing was just a joy to ride on, that kind of stuff. And I really give a lot of that to the 21-inch front tires. It has a lot of gyroscopic force. It worked really well. The disc brake on it is a 300 millimeter disc brake with dual piston Barber caliper. A lot of people like to say that it didn't have enough front brake, and I would argue that. I thought it had plenty of front brake because, you know, it was made for this kind of road, and you don't want a touchy front brake on a road like this. As far as on pavement goes, it was adequate. You know, if you knew its limitations and knew how to use it properly, you had plenty of brake. It would stop you without any trouble. Running over to the back, it was a monoshock motorcycle. Check that out, big old monoshock in there. It was a linked monoshock. You can see the link down there. And it had about 7.1 inches of travel in the back. I think that's about 180 millimeters. Rear disc was a 240, I believe, with a single piston Barber caliper. Let's see if we can find a tire size. 120/90/17 on the rear. So, and these are Pirellis on this bike. I think the original came with Pirellis. I'm sure these are not the original tires because this motorcycle has over 20,000 miles on it. I'm not sure the ground clearance. I think it was something like 220 millimeters, something like that. A little 8.6 inches, something like that. So just look at the simplicity there, you know. Very nifty engine. Air cooled. Here's the oil cooler. That's the stock bash guard on the bottom. Chain drive, of course. You know, it was just a heck of a bike. Racks on the front. They've added racks on the back. Another trait of this motorcycle that anybody that's ever owned it will love to tell you all about is this. This big chunk of plastic on the front. So that is the analog speedo, or cluster, instrument cluster. Speedometer up here, tachometer over here, fuel gauge here, and then the compass that points any direction but the direction you're going. And mine said southeast so long that I really thought I was going to end up in Florida somewhere. Gear indicator over here. There's the odometer. It says 22,000 miles. Right. There's a clock over here which needs reset, and then an ambient air temperature gauge. Down here it's on trip B, so that's what we got right there. So as the bike would age, it starts to rattle, and everything in there starts to just it actually rattles as you go down the road. You could it was really something else. And as you rode this bike, if you reached up and grabbed this structure here, you could feel the vibrations. I mean, it was something else. So the headlight, you know, this is attached to the frame and to the neck up here, and the headlight was part of that. And turn that off. So the headlight is always pointing in the direction of the body. It does not turn with the front tire. And that was another one of its traits, you know. You'd put your bags on here, your fuel tanks, or, you know, your extra stuff like that on there. People put bags on top of here. The guy that I traded this in had put these racks on. He had the metal bags on the side, you know. These turn signals were relocated. Without this rack, they'd be up here somewhere. So this is a kit to relocate them back here. Hey, he's got a little sticker down there, huh? I like it. I like it a lot. It's a fun motorcycle. It really is. Switch gear, clutch over here, flash to pass, high lows, blinkers, horn, kill switch, start switch, fuel of course, and the brake. Fuel tank was about 4 gallons. What would that be, about 15 liters or so, I suppose? Really plenty of fuel. Motorcycle riders always want 1 more gallon, and it's the same thing with this, but you had about a 200-mile range, and on my bike I could consistently count on 150 to 180 miles, I think, so really something else. The bike weighed 440 pounds, which is about 200 kilograms. The new one, which I bought the new one myself, and so did this guy. The new one's 430 pounds, so it's 10 pounds lighter, about 4 kilograms lighter, and a lot more powerful. It has 40 horsepower, I believe, and 30 foot-pounds of torque. So it's really something else. So riding this today, I started riding it last night. I picked it up last night. It's been very nostalgic for me, and you know what? We'll talk about that at the next stop. Let's get on the bike and ride. Wahoo! So I've just been having a ball on this thing. We've done a bunch of gravel already today, done a bunch of pavement. I'm going to do a bunch more gravel. I've just been having it's been a nostalgic ride. You know, I had one of these for 3 years, over 3 years. I did 31,000 miles on it, and now I'm riding this one, you know, and it's just been, you know, the ripping sound of the engine between gears, you know, first and second in particular, the clunkiness of the transmission, you know, the way the kind of, I don't want to use the word primitive, but the way the ride is, you know, the way it hits bumps and handles, you know, the way it handles on gravel. It has a very unique, very secure way of handling on gravel. It's a very good motorcycle in that sense. You know, there's just been all kinds of fun with it. The stalling problem, I hate to bring that up. It's zidded a couple times. That is a problem that plagued the bike from 17 to 22, I think. By 22 they had it gone. Mine was a 21. I think that was the worst year for it. And this bike did it a couple times. I was just amazed, you know. I was like, oh, hey, I know that trick. You know, get it running again, and no problem. You would start the bike, and it would just die all of a sudden. You know, just when you're not when you're riding it, but just sitting still. But you know, all these little traits, the way the seating position, you know, the upright seating position, you sit very upright, your feet in a good spot, you can stand up easily, you know, very, you know, your handlebars kind of reach you. It's a very neutral seating position, very similar to the new Royal Enfield Himalayan. I mean, in a lot of ways, you can feel, you know, the progression from this one to the new one readily. And I mean, riding this thing, I think of I've got the new 450, and I can feel my 450 in this one. You know, I can see where they took from this one and brought it over to that one, you know. And as far as looks wise goes, you know, it's got the 21-inch front tire, it's got this structure on the headlight area here, you know. It's got the, I mean, it just has the rear end actually has a very similar look, you know, the monoshock and the way the pipe rolls up, and the, you know, the big single cylinder engine. But it's just been a lot of fun. And I know when you get nostalgic, you lose perspective. You know, you start throwing in how you feel versus how it really is. But I've just been having a lot of fun on this. You know, would I love to own another one of these? Well, yeah, I would love to own one. But you know, how many motorcycles can you own at one time, right? It's just a great bike. So when the new Himalayan came out, one of the big worries was that there was going to be a big, you know, rush to trade in their old ones for the new ones because the new ones is going to be so great. Well, that happened. But what also happened was there was a crowd of people that wanted to buy these 411s up. And it got to the point, you know, the first month or two, there were 411s on the showroom, but after that, they're kind of hard to come by anymore. And I think these are going to go the way of like they're going to be like a Volkswagen Beetle or a, you know, an old car of some sort. They're going to become collectible, the one that you want to have, you know, the one that brings back the memories and the nostalgia. And they got a very unique look. And honestly, I think black, this is an all black one. That's probably one of the worst colors for it. I had a black one with a red on the front. I put a big red star on it, you know, and but it's really quite a bike, and I think it's going to be present for a long time. So in India, they still sell this. They don't call it the Himalayan. Well, it is a Himalayan. They call it the Scram. It's a Scram model, but it's also been upgraded to a 440, and it now has a 6-speed transmission. And we would love to have those in the States. However, that doesn't seem to look like it's going to happen. When I was in India last November. I got to sit on one. I didn't get to ride one. And I was very impressed. The fit and finish was, you know, superb. That's a Royal Enfield trait. Royal Enfield is always, every year they make everything, you know, just a little bit better. They make it better. They do, you know, it's like the transmissions. You know, I rode mine was a 21. It had a kind of a clunky transmission. A buddy of mine bought a 22 and 23s. You know, I've ridden those, and those have a very smooth transmission. You know, it's the kind of thing that Royal Enfield is constantly doing. They're constantly improving things. And you know, look at this motorcycle. This is a bike that has been around for years now. What would that be, seven or 8 years now? 20-some thousand miles. Been used as who knows what. You know, it's been to Colorado and mountain peaks and all that stuff, mountain passes, and it's still here today. And it's still in one piece. You know, they're overbuilt and understressed. You know, they're done right, I think. I'm a true brand loyalist. When Baxter Cycle wanted me to ride one of these, I didn't want to do it, and they lent me one for a day, told me to put a couple hundred miles on it, and by the end of the first 100 miles, I was just in love, just absolutely in love. I waited a month, and then I went back and bought myself one, and it was one of the best bikes I've ever. I'll stop right there. It was the best bike I've ever owned. Until I got the new 450. And I've had dozens and dozens of bikes. I've had, you know, 60, 70 bikes, and I can say that I've really enjoyed it. And what makes it so fun? And what makes it so fun? Well, I can tool down the road. I've been on pavement for the last 20 minutes, and it rides like a road bike. You know, it does that so well. It handles the bumps well. You know, it doesn't bottom you out. It's got so much suspension. I can hit a gravel road, and I did a bunch of gravel earlier. You know, I was on the gravel for half an hour, 45 minutes, and it just eats it up. Very stable. You know, it goes through the humps and the bumps, and it just does it well. I'm starting to ramble, aren't I? Hey, if you all are interested in a motorcycle like this, a new or used Royal Enfield Triumph classic British bike of any type, need parts, accessories, thingamajigs, doodads, coats, jackets, helmets, gloves, socks, underwear, anything at all, get yourself over to Baxter Cycle in the mighty mini-tropolis of Marnie, Iowa, or go to baxtercycle.com. They got a brand new website. Make sure you tell those fine folks that Fuzzy Biker, that's me, sent you. Hit like and subscribe. I want you all to look at this absolutely beautiful day out there. Absolutely beautiful day. And an absolutely fabulous motorcycle. I'm gonna go for a motorcycle ride. Get out of that easy chair, get off that couch, get out and ride, my friends. Wahoo!